On August 27th, this guy, Francisco Merlos, entered the house of his girlfriend only to witness a horrific scene. Geneva Gomez, who was in the early 30s at the time, was laying in a pool of blood, barely recognizable, with her head bashed in, literally, and with a crucifix placed on her chest. Now, right beside was her mother, Juanita Gomez, who bashed her daughter's head in and took her life, and all that in order to get rid of the devil which is inside of her. However, if you put some pieces together, there are like several other, let's call them reasons why this could have happened, and we're gonna try to cover them all. Yep, this is really messed up one, so if you have the stomach, stick around to hear the rest.
An Oklahoma City woman accused of killing her grown daughter while trying to rid the victim of Satan was ordered Friday to trial. Juanita Gomez is charged with first-degree murder in the fatal beating of her 33-year-old daughter, Geneva Gomez. The victim was found August 27th inside the defendant's home, lying on the floor in the shape of a cross, police reported.
So as we said, it was August 27th, and this happened in Oklahoma City. So the boyfriend, which was at the time ex-boyfriend, so Francisco Merlos, he broke up with Geneva about 2 days ago, and he was trying to basically get back together with Geneva. And yeah, so he decided, I'm gonna go to her house, I'm gonna make things right. So he gets to the house, he rings the bell, and the mother, Juanita Gomez, opens the door. But what he finds inside would like freak the fuck out of him. And of course, why shouldn't it? Because the guy witnessed something that will stick with him for the rest of his life. Let's hear what he said.
And I can just see my girl laying there, like, with her arms out, with the crucifix right here, and you can't even recognize her face at all. It was just, like, that's not my girl, you know?
Now, the first thing that crosses my mind is how easily she opened the door for him and just, like, invited him in. You know, you wanna get a cup of coffee, a cup of fresh orange juice, don't mind my dead daughter, which is laying over there. How are you? What's up? And of course, his first question was, what the hell happened? But instead of getting the right answer, Juanita Gomez actually headlocked the guy, so put him in a headlock position. And she was totally insane, basically, at that point, because she was like, by his statement, she was completely lost, disoriented, she was mumbling something, it was quite difficult to understand. But the main thing is that she did that to him and they were fighting, and actually after he managed to like escape her grasp, he called the police, and the police of course eventually came. Now the police comes to the house and they obviously also witness a horrific crime scene and instantly arrest the mother, who was at that point like confessing everything without any kind of hesitation whatsoever. And on the police question of why would you do such a thing, she just responded, she was possessed, I had to intervene, so I had to do it. And how she did it was, to put it lightly, very, very graphic. So she beat her daughter up with, as the court documents later stated, with some kind of blunt object. So she inflicted injuries all over her body, and she was beating her basically until she became unconscious. And in that process, he actually took some kind of medallion or something and crucifix and crammed it down her daughter's throat. Just thinking about that, I don't know, man, it's really, really messed up. After she did all that and Geneva was still breathing, so she was still alive, she put her in some kind of cross position and placed another crucifix directly on her chest. And she just stood there and watched her daughter like bleeding to death. Now let's just stop here to imagine what kind of monster you have to be to witness your child, a child that you made, is suffering right in front of your eyes, choking in blood. You just stand there, you just watch and smile. like I did something good. So I actually helped my daughter, because even though she's dying, she's gonna get rid of I don't know what. So right on top of that, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna call the bullshit on Juanita's reason, right? And why is that? I'm gonna explain later in when we get to the second part. So for now, one more time, let's just stop and think about the sheer brutality that is needed in order to do what she did. And not only that, but after the poor girl was gone, she tried to basically kill her boyfriend as well, ex-boyfriend. So if there was another girl, I mean, this could have been easily like a double murder, a double homicide. So it's lucky circumstances that it was a guy, so he was a little bit stronger. He was able to break free from her, whatever she did, and call the police. Now, when they arrest her, they noticed that she had bruises all over her hands and body, which indicated that it was not like one street direction fight, one-way fight. Because Geneva obviously put some resistance, which would any normal person do in that situation. But again, she insisted that those were the injuries which she doesn't regret, because she received them fighting against the Satan, devil, whatever you wanna say. After her arrest, Juanita was trying, it's like, by this point, it's like the most common thing when killers are in question. So she tried to minimize her sentence or to avoid jail time by pleading insane. So how would she do that? Well, for starters, you would need to make up some pretty crazy story about how devil possessed your daughter, and that you have to intervene in order to save her from eternal suffering. While she was incarcerated, they actually did psychic evaluation, I hope it's called like that, when you receive some kind of test and you need to complete that test in order for the doctors to evaluate, are you actually in the borders of sanity or are you for the straight jacket. And she did that test, but the problem was that she scored so low that it was pretty suspicious, because the people with brain damage scored higher than her, and the people who were told to deliberately lie on those tests just for the results also scored higher than her. So it was quite obvious that she's trying to do the test as bad as possible, so she will receive the paper which says, yeah, congratulations, you're totally insane.
Gomez has been in jail since August. According to an evaluation just filed at the county courthouse, she had refused the tests until recently. The results, her murder trial will continue. The evaluation says that Gomez claims she had no idea why she was in jail, and she had no recollection of the time period surrounding her arrest. But according to the evaluation, Gomez was faking it. During a memory test, she scored lower than people with brain injuries and dementia. The document claims she even scored lower than people who were told to lie on the test. Police say Gomez killed her daughter, Geneva, by shoving a crucifix down her throat because she thought her daughter was possessed by the devil.
Quite obviously, the sentencing was pretty straightforward, and she received life in prison without the possibility of parole. And the jury needed about only 20 minutes to, find this person completely guilty, of course, on all charges, and to send her behind the bars forever. Now, what is interesting is that what the hell could be the reason of this, totally pointless and brutal and savage murder? Now, given the fact that she tried to, pull this case and get away get away with it by pleading insane. I think, and my personal opinion is that she fabricated all this thing to make it sound like she's legitimately insane. So there are some reports that suggest that after she killed her, she placed the body like in the shape of cross, and she placed the crucifix on her chest, and only after she was like gone, then she took the crucifix and crammed it down her throat, and with some medallions or something, I don't know, holy objects or something, to make it seem like she died in some kind of process of, I don't know, homemade exorcism, which would indicate that, yeah, I mean, this person was completely insane. I mean, how, what the hell? So my personal opinion is that something happened which provoked the fight between mother and daughter. She kills her, and then in a blink of an eye said, okay, what I'm gonna do, I have to make some shit up. So quickly she fabricated the crime scene, and then, said, I'm gonna stick to this story, I'm gonna, mumble some things, I'm gonna feel disoriented, I'm gonna be lost, the people will think that I'm completely crazy, and then I killed my daughter because I thought that she was really possessed by Satan, devil. Now the second thing would be that she really, despite all odds and results, she really was insane. So she actually really thought that her daughter is having devil inside of her, and she needs to intervene, and of course all that actually happened, but she was falsely accused of not being insane, and on her misery she's gonna spend the rest of the time behind bars. That is only like possibility, which I'm not buying. The third one would be, yes, that also happened, and she was like very, very, very religious person. Now, when I say like religious person, I mostly speak and refer to the case of Anneliese Michel. So if you're not familiar with that case, you can check the mini documentary I did 1 year ago maybe. But long story short, it was a case that happened in Germany, West Germany, in 1972 or 3, something like that, in which family, which is, by the way, sane by all proportions, they were just very, very religious. I mean, sane. Obviously, you're not sane when you can do something like that, but in the same time, you're not crazy as well. So you're perfectly aware of the situation. But what happened was that the girl, Anneliese Michel, was in question. She was actually mentally ill. So she was in the early stages of schizophrenia. That is only my opinion. I mean, you're gonna still find a lot of people online who think that she was really possessed and evil forces were interfering with her life. However, let's just, for the sake of this comparison, let's just stick with the first theory, which is of course the reasonable one. So she was in the early stages of schizophrenia, and her family, being very, very religious, thought that she was possessed by, I think, 6 or 7 different demons. So over the course of 6 months, they performed like 66 separate exorcisms, and the girl was so like broken and exhausted and deprived of sleep, water, food, that eventually she died from lack of nutrition. So she weighed only about like 25 kilograms or something. Yeah, after she died, the parents still like stuck to this story and actually exhumed the body several years later to check if she's like still there, completely intact. I mean, when you just think about it, it's completely sick, man. But the point is that they were so blinded by those beliefs that she was really possessed by devil or I don't know what, that they actually killed their own child. And I mean, it's not the same, but it could be the case if she was in the same lane with the parents of Annelies Michael. However, instead of performing exorcism, she went straight to the I'm gonna do it myself. I don't need priest, I don't need anybody, I'm just gonna cram the crucifix down your throat and you're gonna be good. Just think of that image and think of the fact that we're sharing the same air with the people like this. Now, another thing that crossed my mind is that, so we already know that it was some kind of dispute, right? But just looking at her photo, I mean, I cannot resist the urge to think that she was some kind of drug user. And judging by this photo, for example, let's take this photo. This is very similar to, I don't know, methamphetamine user or something. And it's not hard for me to believe that she was under some influence of some kind of illegal substances, although I couldn't find any source which claims, the same. Maybe she was clean at a time, but she was definitely, at some point using something which maybe gave her hallucinations or I don't know what. I'm just trying to find a reason why would person do this to another person, especially if another person is your own child. So it's really hard to me to comprehend how can you do something like this without trying to find, I'm not gonna say there is the specific reason, but some glance of possible reason, which maybe can be one of these reasons I already stated in this video. So as far as this case goes, and it is a really savage one, I'm gonna say without a single doubt in my mind, although I said a couple of more reasons, my personal opinion is that she fabricated the whole thing because after she did what she did, she knew I'm gonna have to, do something in order to at least have a chance of getting away with it. I mean, it is sick to think first in that kind of way because you just killed your daughter and the only thought is what should I do to get myself free? I mean, to lower my sentence or to avoid jail time. So that by default is sick by itself. Ultimately, she fabricated the whole thing and luckily she didn't manage to convince anybody. So everybody saw right through her bullshit story and until this day, she's in jail where she belongs. And that is all that matters. So one lunatic less on the streets. Plain and simple. So at first glance, when I researched, I was thinking maybe there's something, but after I went through and through, I saw through the bullshit as well. So I think it's gonna be a wrap for today, and until the next time, please stay safe.